it's similar to chess also. So for chess in India, it is much better status because people think that there is a chance you might become a professional chess player. So I don't think, and also it is considered a test of intelligence. So no one will say that why is your son a chess player? Why what he's wasting his life? Because everyone thinks that he's a chess player. He might be smart. But for cubing, that mindset needs to also be there. That it's not a bad thing. It doesn't. Everything doesn't have to be a career.
So, hello everyone, I'm Hitesh, and we have with us Shivam Bansal, the
Hello.
big blind champion and the former world record holder for multi-blind and current Asian champion for multi-blind as well. So, hello Shivam Bhaiya, how are you?
Hello, Trish. How are you? I'm very good.
All fine. So, it's a pleasure that we have you with us in our second
Hmm.
episode of HC Talks. And for
Yes.
people like more or less people know you who are in cubing, but still giving a little brief about him. Like he's a guy who is good in every WCA event,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
especially he's the blind champion. Though he can see with his eyes, but still he solves the cubes very well without seeing. Especially
Hmm.
the multi-blind event for people who don't know, he solves multiple 3x3s at a go, blindfolded after memorizing them in just 1 hour. And I guess your world record was 48 or 47.
Yeah. 48 out of 48. Yes.
Correct. So he broke the multi-blind world record a few years back, 48 cubes on 48. That's 100% accuracy. And
Hmm.
the entire Indian cubing community was very happy when he broke the
Hmm.
world record. So for people who may not know, he recently participated in the Asian Championships and he won two podiums. And I guess you were the only Indian who got
Yes. So
podiums in the Asian
podium.
Championship.
Yeah, this
Correct.
time because the competition was very hard.
Very
So
high.
even
Correct.
we had a really good team this time. Unfortunately, because most of the people had main events as like the popular events, 3x3, 4x4, cube,
Correct.
etc. So it was already very tough. So this time only I podium, but I'm still very happy with how Team India did because we got into a lot of finals.
Correct. So for people who don't know, Shivam Bhaiya won the multi-blind event out of all the other participants and even against the ASR holder, correct?
Yes,
As far as
Yushin
I'm,
Sen, yes.
yeah. And also, I guess you were third in five blind or second?
Yeah,
Third.
third in five by
Third
five
in five blind.
blindfolded.
Correct.
Yes.
So for the records that he has made, he currently has in his record collection one world record, two Asian records, and 29 national records. And the
Yes.
podium count is like literally insane. 183 golds, 151 silvers, and 126 bronze. That's literally
Hmm.
like more than my combined podium list. So that's insane. So starting with the questions, it's
Hmm.
like I guess people have seen you less because you are a little bit not that much active in the online cubing community, correct? But in competitions you like do a blast. So for people to understand you better, let me tell people that he has a WC ID from 2011. That is like literally
Hmm.
13 years ago when I was like
Yes.
5 years of age. So how basically did you start cubing? This is the question that I ask everyone.
Hmm. Okay, so cubing I started around let's say the end of 2010 when I was 10 years old. So right now I'm 25 years old. In 2010 I was 10 years old and we went to Dubai as a family vacation and I was at a toy shop, Toys R Us, and my mom just randomly dropped the cube in the basket because she thought I might like to play with it. So when I got home, I tried to look up a tutorial on how to solve it. So I had tried the cube many times in the past, but I hadn't really tried seriously. Now I was 10 years old and YouTube was a thing. So I thought I'll look it up. And there were only like two or three videos, like popular videos on how to solve it. So I learned from Dan Brown's video. Dan Brown had a tutorial and it took me around 1 month to learn how to solve it, which is quite long because I kept messing up the first layer. I didn't realize that you had to make the permutation correct. Also, I was getting the one side, but I wasn't able to solve the full layer. So
Correct.
that took me a little while to learn, but then once I learned, I really started enjoying it, and I learned the beginner's method layer by layer, and then I started practicing with it. For around 1 year, I practiced layer by layer, and I got to around 40 to 50 second average. And this was 2010, so there were no competitions happening in North India. And even in South India, there was like one competition a year. So in 2011, in October, I saw that there's a competition happening in Chennai called IIT Shasta Cube Open 2011.
Correct.
So I registered for it, and then I went with my family, especially for that competition, to Chennai, which is a very long flight. From here, it's like three
Correct.
hours flight. So I went there, and I was really surprised to see so many people cubing, because up until then, I had been the only person who knew how to solve a cube that I knew. And I'd only seen a few videos on YouTube, because back then even YouTube wasn't that popular. So after I went to that competition, I did five solves. I got an average of around 53 seconds and a PB single of 42. And I saw someone solving the cube in 16 seconds, which was really mind blowing for me at the time. And I also knew that Bernat Orlando might be at that competition, but he came later, so I didn't get to meet him. And that was also Bhargav Narasimhan's second competition, but I also didn't meet him. And it was Kesava's first competition, but I also didn't meet him because I didn't know anyone. So I just did my five solves, and I got a 53 average, and then I left the venue because I knew I wouldn't make round two. That time I thought round two was like the stuff of legends. So I
Correct.
knew that I would make round two. So I just was happy with my five solves because I knew that I'll get an official result now. So when I came home, I saw my result was on WCA. And then I started losing interest in cubing a bit after that, because I didn't really know about CFOP method. I thought that actually I knew about it, but I thought it would be too tough for me to learn. So I just wasn't improving with layer by layer. So I just kind of stopped cubing for around 2 years after that. So after 2011, my next competition was in 2014. So
Yeah.
it was like a 3 year gap, because at the
Yeah.
end of 2013, I picked up the cube again, and I found out about speed solving forums. So that gave me a lot of knowledge, and then I started learning the CFOB method. I started buying new types of cubes. So back then, I didn't even have a 2 by 2. I only had a 3 by 3. So I bought a 2 by 2 Pyramid, 455, etc. And then I found that Facebook group Speed Cubing and India Unlimited. And then on there, I saw there are a lot of Indian cubers, and I was really excited. I started buying all the events I could. I started learning blindfolded. So the competition was SCMU 2014, which was happening in January,
Yeah.
and it was around 3 months away. So in those 3 months, I learned 14 events out of the 18. I learned 3 by 3 blindfolded, but I wasn't that fast. I was around 6 minutes average. And I also learned FMC. I saw a lot of videos. I saw Akash Chopela's videos, Nikhil Mande's. Then when I went to SCMU, we went to Mumbai, all of us, with my family. And then I went to the mall. It was happening in a mall. And I started seeing all these tubers in person, like Akash Chopela, Gaurav Taneja, I had only seen videos of. So I was really excited. And I did BLD was the second event of the day. So I did BLD, and I got a success on my first ever attempt, which was 6 minutes 34 seconds. So that was a good start to my BLD career. And then the next two were DNF, and I didn't make round two of BLD. So in round two, I was judging people. So I was judging one guy who got a 3 minute single, and I was really impressed while judging him. And I was seeing Nikhil Mande's five BLD attempts. So he was the only one doing five BLD at that comp, and he didn't get a success. But I was really inspired by seeing him doing 5 BLD. So I knew that as soon as I got home, I wanted to learn 4 BLD and 5 BLD also. And that was also my first multi-blind attempt. I got 0 out of 2, because I didn't really think I could get it under 20 minutes. So I had to rush my memo. And it was a loud mall. I didn't even have a success at home in multi-blind. I just tried it, and I got 0 out of 2. But it was a really good experience for me, because it was a 3 day competition, and I did a lot of events. I didn't podium in anything. So, but that really inspired me to start cubing, and coincidentally, it was that time that Akash Chopra became a delegate. So in 2014, a lot of comps started happening in
Competitions.
Delhi.
Yeah.
Yeah, competitions. So it allowed me to travel to Delhi a lot, because Delhi is like 3 hours drive from my house. So my parents took me to all the Delhi comps, and then I competed in all the events, and I started improving in 2014. So 2014, I think I went to 10 or 12 competitions. So I really started my journey. Basically, I think I started in 2014. 2011 was just a one-time competition, but I still remember it fondly because it was the very first time I saw a competition.
Correct. Yeah,
Hmm.
the first competition is very good, like a very good experience for every cuber. Like me also,
Yes.
I have done around 18 competitions, I believe, till
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
And that's low considering your number of counts. But
Yeah.
still 18. I have done the first one was in 2022 in Mumbai, Phoenix Cube
Okay.
Challenge. And that
Hmm.
was the first comp I went from Kolkata to Mumbai, a 36 hours train journey. But I
Okay.
was so excited, and that too, I was at least good in 5 by 5, decent. I qualified for the
Hmm.
finals. I could have podium, but yeah, messed up. But after that, the push
Hmm.
that I have got, the motivation, and I have
Hmm.
practiced as much I can. So it was great listening to you how you started the Cuban journey. And the thing
Hmm.
that amazes me is not only you memorize the BLD cubes, but also you have some so much of knowledge from like 13 years in the past. That's insane.
Yeah. Like
So
I could talk
now,
to you
yeah,
for I could talk for 1 hour about that first competition. I have a lot of things. Yes, but
yeah,
let's
that's
move
for
on.
sure. Yeah, yeah, sure,
Hmm.
sure. So we have few questions from our people who have sent you questions. So
Hmm.
first question is, could you explain your blank mind state before MBLD or 345 BLD solve? How
Hmm.
can a person who is new to cubing or basically new to BLD, I would say, can
Hmm.
approach it as a event?
Okay, so when I started cubing and like I started again in 2013, BLD I was instantly drawn to because it was a really it seemed like an impossible thing. And then when I learned that there's a method on how to do it, I understood the method and I started learn it. But then I quickly found out that it was very hard for me because I couldn't memorize the cube without writing down my memo. So I had to write down the memo for a cube like 3BLD. I wrote down 20 letters. I memorized them again and again. Then I solved it. So I thought that in competition I wouldn't be allowed to take notes. So I want to learn how to solve it without taking notes. So in the start, you can say I had trouble even memorizing one cube. And that was the same me that 1 year later I was doing 12 cubes or 13 cubes. 2 years later I was doing 20 cubes. So I don't think that you need any special mind to do MBLD or to do any BLD events, which is a common misconception I think in cubing because most of the kids gravitate towards the smaller events, the quicker events, which are easy to learn, fun to improve. You can share your times, you can get faster. There's no chance of failure. Like in BLD, it is very demotivating when you spend 10 minutes and then you get a DNF. So that is the hurdle that very few people in India have crossed because as I see the rankings in 3BLD these days, you can say the top five are almost unchanged. Maybe like one new person is comes in the top 10 maybe every 2 years. So basically it's unchanged and no one I see all these new kids getting fast in 3 by 3, 4 by 4. No one is even trying BLD or let alone big BLD. That is a problem because I think this YouTube culture, cubing culture is good that it is reaching a lot of kids and a lot of kids are starting cubing, but they should also. Don't think they have enough motivation to try BLD, which is an event that requires a lot of patience and a lot of like the returns come later and you have to invest a lot of time in it. But I think if anyone is motivated to learn BLD, they should start with M2/OP, which is a method which is much better than OP/OP. So I'll tell you a fun fact that I think all the last few NR holders in BLD, they all started with M2/OP. And all the beginners I see mostly they do OP, they learn it. They get around 2 minutes, 3 minutes with it, and then they find it too boring and then they quit. So all the NR holders, they learned by M2/OP, and I also learned M2/OP in the start, which is a little difficult to learn, but it allows you to improve very fast. And I got under sub 1 minute with just M2/OP. So I think that choosing the correct method in the start can be a good thing to help your motivation, but it is not completely the case. So like Abhijit Gurungkar, he started with I think OP/OP or OP/R2, I think something changed, but he also improved a lot. So it is not impossible, but I think you should choose a good method, stick with it, and then do not get demotivated by DNFs. And like once you start learning 3BLD, I encourage you to start learning 4BLD also because at first it'll seem tough, but if you wait 1 year, you'll you won't have any motivation. So like for me, when I started, my first goal was to learn all events as quickly as I could, and obviously 5BLD is the toughest. So within I think 4 months of learning 3BLD, I got a 5BLD success, and then couple of weeks later I tried 6BLD, which wasn't an official event, but I still tried it and I got a DNF. Few months later, I got a success in 6BLD. So within 1 year of 3BLD, I had a 6BLD success. And I think right now, me and Abhijit are the only ones with a 7BLD success in India. So I had this drive to learn all the events that I could. And obviously, BLD events were the toughest. So I spent more time learning them. I think anyone who wants to start BLD, they should just start, because a lot of Cubans I meet, they say that they want to learn BLD or they are interested in learning, but they never actually do it. They just keep talking about learning BLD. Because I think a lot of Cubans who are very experienced, let's say who are 10-second average, sub 10 average in 3x3, just by their TPS alone, they can get a sub 1 single easily. So they don't even have that excuse that I'm a beginner in cubing, because you are already a pro in cubing. So learning BLD should be much easier for you. So I think that once this mindset changes, I think a lot of people can get very good in BLD, and then India can also improve on the global stage in BLD, except those two or three people who practice seriously. And for my mindset before an MBLD attempt, so like some people might have seen, I'm not sure, that I meditate for around 1 to 2 minutes before the attempt. I just close my eyes, I do slow breathing, but I'm not actually meditating. I'm just reviewing my rooms in my head. So I use a method called Roman rooms, where I memorize the cube using rooms inside my head, like my bedroom, kitchen, living room, other houses, other locations. And I just mentally go through them one by one. I slow my breathing. And because MBLD is a very it's a very mindset based event, where you can see that a lot of top cubers, when they go to major championships, they don't get a good result. They often DNF even though they are world class. Like you won't see Yiheng Wang getting a DNF average in 3x3. He might get a 5 average or 6 average, but he won't DNF. But in MBLD, even the world record holder didn't even podium at Worlds last year. So it is obviously a very mindset based event. And luckily, I've been fortunate enough to podium at every major championship since 2015, I think. 2015 Worlds, I didn't podium, but since then I've podiumed 3 World Championships, for I think 5 Asian Championships in total. So the key to my consistency, I think, is having a good mindset about cubing. Like I do not put all my chips into the MBLD camp. I focus on other events also. And I also am happy, I'm okay with failure. So I don't worry too much about not getting a good result in MBLD. Plus, I've always practiced under distracting conditions. So I used to do MBLD in my living room earlier for around 4 to 5 years. So there were often people walking around, and there were distractions, there were noises. So I got used to that over time. So that is why a lot of Cubas, like these days, they are very particular about MBLD. They want a distraction blocker. They want a table next to the wall. They want no one walking in the line of sight. I'm fine with anything. Well, mostly anything. I still get distracted, but I find that practicing under harsh conditions, as I was getting close to the world record, it helped me become more capable of doing of replicating my home results in competitions. Yes.
Yeah. So as people heard that, so BLD, like for me, I started
Mm.
in August. So
Mm.
as you told, distracting conditions. I was traveling for a
Yes.
competition in Telangana. So I
Mm.
was in the train. I was sitting in the side lower berth with a fellow
Mm.
cuber with me, Mukul Das. So
Mm.
I knew the concept of BLD. I was just I started with OPOP because that felt simpler to me. So
Mm.
I just knew the concept. Then I had one thing incorrect that I was doing since the start. That was in OPOP you have your buffer in your left side. I was doing
Mm.
it opposite. I was thinking that the buffer is in your right side. And so
Mm.
that's why my entire thing was not working. In the
Mm.
train, the fellow cuber already knew how to do BLD.
Mm.
So I got my concept clear. I tried it out. Because corners only I was doing it well. I
Mm.
tried it out. The train, biryani, this, that. All the
Mm.
vendors are coming and going. I did my first attempt, first full attempt, got a success of 9 minutes. I was
Wow,
happy.
that's good.
I
Hmm.
I started with BLD on the train, and got around 6 7 minutes, something like that. As soon as I went to my hotel, I started it. I got near about 3 4 minutes, 5 minutes, something like
Okay.
that.
Hmm.
Then at Telangana, as I was not mentally prepared, just because of 2 3 errors, I DNF'd the entire average. Then again
Hmm.
at a comp, Karnataka champs that I went around 2 weeks ago, last week actually, when we are
Hmm.
recording, I attempted first solve. I started M2 OP after Telangana. So that pushed me, and I have a PB of 1 minute something seconds, like high one
Hmm.
minute with M2 OP. So I didn't do BLD much because I have other events which I focus on. Karnataka, I
Yes,
didn't
of
practice
course.
BLD at all. I did the first attempt. Only thing I did wrong was VS was the letter. So in
Hmm.
execution, it will be VI. I did it
Yeah.
as VS. So that got
Hmm. Okay.
DNF. Second
Yes.
attempt, it was a success with parity with three twisted corners. And I was very
Hmm.
happy. 3.5 minutes, something like that. So BLD is fun. People who think BLD is hard, it's like it's same as cubing. It's hard until you do it. Correct. And
Yes. Yes.
BLD, I also feel very sad that the rankings in BLD are very, like, not about rankings, it's about the number of people who have officially
Hmm.
done BLD are very
Hmm.
less, especially the
Yes.
4 and 5 BLD. 5 BLD, I guess
Hmm.
it's less than 30 as far as I know,
Yeah.
20 ish,
Yeah. When I
something.
started, it was like four people who had done 5 ELD. I think I was the fifth one. And even now, I think the problem is there are a few cubers like here and there who start big BLD, like maybe one or two people I think per year get added in 5 BLD. But I don't think any of them have progressed beyond the like getting one success of 20 minutes type thing. Because I think they haven't practiced that much, and also like 5 BLD requires more time, and like mostly older cubers do big BLD and they are also busy with job or college or stuff. So that is all, that issue is always there in, but that is also there in like other events. But they are always kids who have a lot of time, so they can
Correct.
improve very fast. Yes.
Yeah. So the next question is, will Shivam try to get 50 plus points in multi-blind before Worlds?
So, like for MBLD, when I started it around 2014, it was just any other event that I used to do along with other 17 events. Now in 2015, I realized that I had actually had a chance for the national record, which was 11 out of 11 at the time. So I started practicing 12 cubes, and I practiced for around few months, and then I got a 17 out of 18 NR at nationals 2015. Then I realized that I was just one cube away from the Asian record, which was 18 out of 18. Which was 17 out of 17. So I started practicing for Asian record, and the Asian record also kept improving because Kaijun Lane from China, he was breaking it. He was getting a 20, then 25 cubes, then 27 cubes, then 30 cubes. So I kept following him throughout the next year, and I also got up to 30 cubes. But the ASR was continuously escaping from my grasp. Then Yuxing Shen broke it. He got a 33 out of 34. And then in 2017, I finally got the Asian record with a 38 out of 40. And I realized that I'm actually close to the world record now, which is 41 cubes. So after one more year of practice, I got the world record. And the getting a world record was like my original goal since many years. Actually, my first goal was getting a national record. I had a notebook with the list of my PBs, and I had written some goals which I had thought were crazy at the time, like sub 23 by the single, or maybe sub 30 OH, get a BLD success. And then I realized just for fun, I wrote get an NR at the bottom. So I got an NR, and then I thought I should get an Asian record. So I got an Asian record. Then I thought I should get a world record. So I posted a paper on my wall, and it said only take this down when you get a world record. So after 2 years, I managed to get the world record, and I finally took it down. So after the world record, I think I am very satisfied with my cubing journey, how it's been, and it's still continuing, but the intense practice it took to get the world record of around 1 year of doing attempts every day, analyzing them, taking videos, learning more comms, everything. That took a lot of time, and I think because I accomplished my main goal of getting the world record, I felt less motivation to continue practicing, because MBLD is an event where at this level you need to practice continuously, otherwise you'll get rusty. So, for example, for this competition, Asian Championship, I only had 1 week to practice beforehand. So I only did 40 cubes because I also knew that if I could do a safe attempt, I have a chance of winning. So that happened luckily. But these days, since 2019, what I've done is I've only practiced before major comps. So all throughout lockdown for 2 years, I basically didn't do a single MBLD attempt. In 2022 for Asians, I practiced for 1 month. Then I went to Asians in Kazakhstan. Then for World Championship, I knew that this time podiuming will be very tough in Korea because they were top 10, 9 out of top 10 MBLDers were coming. So what I did was I practiced for 3 months straight, which was very hard for me because I had lost touch of, practicing so much, but I still practiced for 3 months because I knew that I had a chance of podium. So I got third place. And then for Asians, I knew that the best I could do was second place if Yushing Shen does well. So I practiced a little bit, and I was also traveling a lot, so I didn't get time. But I did 1 week of practice. And now I feel like for Worlds next year, for example, I'm just happy with going. I don't really think about the result that much. And since 48 cubes is already tied with my home PB, which is also 48 or 48, I think that I'll have to practice at least 2 or 3 months to have a chance of beating that even at home. And these days I'm working and also traveling a lot, so I usually don't get time for that consistent practice schedule which you need for MBLD. And I'm also very satisfied with how my MBLD career has gone. And now I think I'm just reaping the rewards because I don't practice, but I still go to a competition and I win something. Just because I've practiced so much in those few years that even 6 years later, I'm reaping the benefits of that. So at Worlds also, and for the future, I'm planning to do the same thing for now. I'm not learning anything new. I'm not practicing that seriously. I'll just keep participating in it until it's fun, and I'll try to win as much as I can. But other than that, I'm not really that ambitious about, retaking my world record or anything like that. Maybe in a couple of years, I might change my mind. But right now, I'm very happy with being the Indian NR holder.
Got it. So yeah, it takes a lot of thought process for this entire
Hmm.
planning. One thing I'm curious about, like you carry so many cubes, like at least
Hmm.
40 cubes to every comp, especially the
Hmm.
international ones. So
Hmm.
I am pretty sure you would have to pay hefty amount of charges in the airport.
Hmm. Not really, because most international flights have a good luggage allowance. So they have around, see, 20 to 25 kgs of allowance. And the cubes weigh around 8 kgs. So they can usually fit in the suitcase. Like I used to put them in a box, cardboard box earlier in the suitcase, but I was worried that they might break. So now I got a metal case for them, and now I take them in hand carry. Sometimes I get stopped at airports and they ask me, what are you doing with so many cubes? So I show them a solve and then they let me go.
Yeah,
So usually that hasn't been a problem, luggage related. The only fear is if I check them in and the baggage gets lost, I might be in trouble. So that's why I prefer to hand carry them now.
correct. So,
Hmm.
like, I believe world record is your biggest achievement in your cubing career. But do you have any other such achievement which you think is one of your biggest or the biggest, even above world record?
I think I have one achievement which is maybe just slightly behind the world record, which was becoming the world champion of MBLD in Paris 2017. So going into that comp, you must be knowing Moscow. He held the multi-blind world record for many years. He had the legendary 41 out of 41, and he had not really competed for a few years, but for World Championship 2017 he registered, and everyone was thinking that he's back. He was also practicing, so everyone was thinking that since he was the GOAT of MBLD, he would obviously win. And I just went into the comp hoping to podium because in Brazil 2015 I didn't podium in MBLD. So in Paris I just wanted to podium. So after on the first day I met him for the first time, I took a photo with him. I don't think he knew that much who I was. Like we had chatted online a little bit, but since I was WR2 at the time, but I was still a few points behind him. So I took a photo with him, and after that first attempt, I was in second place. Then after the second attempt, I was in third place. So going into the last attempt, I knew that even if one person beats me, I'll be out of the podium, and he was in first place. So I didn't really think that I had any chance of beating him. I just wanted to stay on the podium. So I did a safe 40 cube attempt, and I got 37 out of 40 in 59 minutes and 12 seconds. And he had 34 points in 59 minutes and 27 seconds. So I beat him by 15 seconds. When I opened my eyes, I was just hoping that I had podium, but then Bhargav Narasimhan, who was my judge, he said, "You won." So I was shocked for a few seconds. I thought I won, but I wasn't expecting, because I was surely expecting Moscow would also improve his result for the last attempt. But apparently he messed up, and also I just beat him by 15 seconds. So that was, I think, the happiest I've been for a cubing result. Like for MBLD world record, I was also very happy and very shocked, but I knew that world record was coming because I had missed it by one cube many times. Like four times in 2018, I missed it by one cube. So that I knew that it would come eventually. But for world becoming world champion, I hadn't even thought in my wildest dreams that my first ever podium would be first place, and that too beating Moscow, who was like legendary in MBLD at the first time I'm meeting him. So that was one of the best results for me that I remember. Secondly, the MBLD world record was very special, and also my first Asian record, which was at Indian Nationals 2017 in Pune. That was also very special for me because I had also tried for the Asian record for many months, and then I finally got it. But I've also had other very happy results. Like, for example, my first national record, which was almost 10 years, it was around 10 years back. So on 1st November 2014, I got a cube and a single of 3.09, which was my first national record. And I remember it especially because my camera stopped recording right in the middle of that solve because it was low on battery. So I didn't get to film my first NR. And I was in Japan at the Asian Championship 2014. So there was no Indian in the room, no Indians in the room. So I was the only Indian in a room breaking the Indian NR, and I was celebrating by myself. But still, that was a very special result for me because it was just cube, but I really
Yeah,
like that feeling. Yes.
correct. So yeah, one more thing that I am more curious about, because more than cubing, I have seen you all in newspapers, in media
Hmm.
nowadays for your astrophotography. So
Hmm.
firstly, introduce people a little bit about astrophotography, and also like how did you draw into that interest? Because I am a little bit curious,
Hmm.
though it's a cubing interview, but as you are
Yes,
a
no
legend
worries.
in that as well,
Hmm.
so I would
Thank you.
surely want to know.
Yes, so photography actually started as an interest for me right around I started cubing. In 2010, like the year I learned cubing, I also went to South Africa for a safari, and I took a lot of photos with a digital camera with an old type of camera. But I really enjoyed taking photos of a lot of animals. So that sparked my interest. And then in 2013, around the time I started cubing again, I also got my first DSLR camera with a removable lens, and I started taking more photos of everything I could find. So I was just at home and there was nothing to photograph. I just went outside. I photographed butterflies, birds, anything I could find, and that started my interest. So I took a few photos of the moon also, and then when I when the lockdown started, so in 2020. I started researching into astrophotography because I had also had an interest in astronomy ever since I was little. In 2016, I bought a telescope and I saw Jupiter, Saturn, etc. with it. But I didn't do any photography. I was just seeing it with my eyes. In 2020, I learned that you could actually take photos with with equipment with my camera, like the stuff that usually you see in books or in NASA photos. It was actually possible to take it. So on Instagram, I found some Indian astrophotographers, and I joined a few forums, and then I started gaining the knowledge of what equipment you need. I got some small telescope and a small camera. I started taking photos of the night sky, like the Milky Way. And then in July 2020, I got a big telescope, which was a 8-inch telescope, which is quite big. So it's like this big. It weighs around 7 8 kilograms. I I started photographing Jupiter, Saturn with it, etc. In because in lockdown the sky was clearer and there was not much to do. So I spent a lot of time learning all the types of astrophotography. I started with planetary imaging, which is when you take photos of the planets Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, etc. And then later I started photographing deep sky objects like nebulae. So nebulae are very hard to photograph from where I live in the city because of the light pollution. But I started buying some special filters and some special cameras using which um, you can photograph them. And there's also I started learning Photoshop because a lot of processing is needed in astrophotography. Like just capturing the image is half the task, and then you have to combine thousands of images into one image to get the final result. So it has also been a journey for me. Like in cubing, I started at a very small level and now I achieved a lot. And for astrophotography, I'd say I'm still like intermediate level. Like there are a lot of astrophotographers who are much better than me. But in Indian circles, I'm quite involved because astrophotography is a very interesting hobby and it's very easy to show to people because you can show them the photos. Like cubing, they might not understand it properly. Like they might be a little impressed or they might not be impressed. But in astrophotography, everyone is impressed because you show them the photos of things you have only seen in books. You can actually photograph them. So I think it's a really interesting hobby, and it is also one that I plan to continue for a few years at least. Same with cubing. Like I'm not that seriously practicing cubing right now, but I still do it for fun because I don't think I'll ever stop enjoying cubing. And I don't think that, I'll be like that dramatic, like I'm quitting cubing or anything. I don't believe in all that. You never quit being a cuber unless you forget how to solve a cube. You just stop coming to as many competitions, but even if you go to one, you're still a cuber. So I'm a cuber and also an astrophotographer.
Yeah. So just a bit curious, like what is the cost of these equipment? Because those will be very heavy cost. So
Yes.
like either you can say the entire cost of the current equipments that you have, or maybe the
So
biggest investment.
yes, so like even in MBLD, I'd say I've invested a lot because buying 50 cubes is not cheap, and I've also bought 50 cubes multiple times actually because in 2016 I had a set of around 30 40 cubes. Then I changed them all. I changed to a different brand and I got 40 more cubes. Then before in 2017 I changed them again, so I've got 50 new cubes. And then 2019 I bought 50 new cubes. So I contacted Chi and Moyu directly to buy the cubes because they gave me a wholesale price. But the customs charged a lot in India, so the cube cost was a lot. But I say that the biggest cost in cubing for me has been travel because international flights, even just the flight is more expensive than all my cubes. So the cost is there, but luckily my parents always supported my cubing and I was fortunate enough to be able to buy all these cubes. And for astrophotography equipment, it's the same. Like for cameras cost a lot. Like professional cameras, they go up into the 1 or 2 lakhs. Like even one lens for me can cost over 50,000. But I try to do well with the equipment that I have. Like I don't buy as lot of equipment. I just buy a little bit as much as I need, and I try to utilize that equipment to the fullest degree. So still say that I spend more on cubing as opposed to astrophotography. But astrophotography is also an expensive hobby, no doubt about that. And the problem is in astrophotography, even to start with, you need to have a good investment. Like in 3 by 3, you can just buy a cube and you can start. But in astrophotography, you at least need a camera. And even if you don't have a camera, these days phone cameras are very good. So there's a lot of mobile astrophotographers out there. There are special apps you can download on your phone which allow you to manually control the camera and you can get good photos. The main thing is being in a dark sky, so being away from a major city where there's less light pollution. If there's less light pollution, then you already have a big advantage over everyone else. So that's the thing.
Got it. So one question that I
Hmm.
get asked like a lot of times, and this is a very valid question especially I would say in India, because cubing is a hobby, like is a
Hmm.
hobby, is a sport which is not as popular as other sports, which leads to not much of a better future in terms of professionalism or basically people choosing as a
Mm.
career. So I have seen a
Mm.
lot of cubers getting out of cubing, like who have good potential, getting out of cubing just because parents are like, Ki, what will happen in your future? What will you do with cubing?
Mm.
Correct. So what is your take on that? That how can the mentality change, or what is your take on this topic?
Yeah, so I think this is a broader issue in India, especially not just for cubing, but for many other things. But I'd say that like both sides can change their mindset a little. So for cubers, you don't have to think of it as a be all and end all. Like it is not either you do cubing a lot or you do cubing zero. There's a middle ground. So for cubing, I think it's just like any other hobby. Like, for example, if let's say someone knows how to play guitar, you won't say to him that why are you playing a guitar? It's not like you'll become a professional guitarist. So there's no use in playing guitar because everyone would be impressed that wow, he has a good skill. So cubing is just a skill and a hobby, a way to connect with others and to learn and hone your skills. And I think it's much more productive than a lot of other time pass activities out there, like for example just so going on social media, just partying, a lot of things. I think compared to those things it's a very good thing. And it's similar to chess also. So for chess in India it is much better status because people think that there is a chance you might become a professional chess player. So I don't think, and also it is considered a test of intelligence. So no one will say that why is your son a chess player? Why what he's wasting his life? Because everyone thinks that he's a chess player. He might be smart. But for cubing, that mindset needs to also be there. That it's not a bad thing. It doesn't. Everything doesn't have to be a career. So like I do photography, but I don't think I'll make photography my career because that way it won't be fun. Because in photography, just taking a few photos here and there is fun for me. But if I spend months and months in the jungle looking for that perfect shot that could earn me a living, that won't be fun for me. So same with cubing. I don't think that earning money in cubing should be a priority for all kids. If someone is interested in that, like interested in coaching or making YouTube videos and stuff, that is good and all. But that shouldn't be the main goal for everyone who does cubing. And even for parents, they should realize that it's just a hobby. Like you don't have to look for a gain out of everything. And a lot of gain you get from cubing, like the social development, the motor skills, improved memory. A lot of things aren't really tangible. Like you can't really see them, but they're always there. And personally, for me, all throughout school, all the teachers told me that I'm very shy, and I was shy, and I was also hesitant to talk to other people that much. But after 10 years of cubing, I'll say I've become a much better person, and I've become more confident, being able to travel to different places. Like I didn't used to think that I would ever travel alone anywhere, and now I can go to the other side of the world all alone. So cubing has been a big part of my development in that sense. And I'll say that I've gotten a lot of things out of cubing that can't be measured in their value. So I think that thing needs to be there for everyone to think about. And once you stop thinking about cubing in a monetary way, you'll realize that the value you're getting is much more than the value you're putting in. So it's a very good thing.
Correct, because see, when I started in 2021, I am a lockdown
Hmm.
cuber. I started
Hmm.
because I had a cube, I was cleaning my cupboard, I started it. But that time I obviously didn't think that how far can I go with it. Because that time
Hmm.
I just had a 3 by 3 and a 2 by 2, I guess. I just kept in
Hmm.
my cupboard. So that time it was like I was averaging around 1 minute, 1 minute 30 second when I started.
Hmm.
And I would have never imagined that I would get a national record of the same time in a 6 by 6. Correct.
Yes,
But
yes.
with the flow, when I went away, and like 2021 was a complete shutdown. That time,
Hmm.
especially the third wave, those things were going
Hmm.
on. And so that was a complete shutdown, and especially no competitions were happening. And for a
Hmm.
hobby, like that time, I obviously used to get money from my parents to buy cubes, and touch wood, they were very supportive. Hmm.
Hmm.
And I am very grateful for that, because if I would not get the initial cubes which I used to practice and move ahead, I would have not come to this stage. Correct. So
Hmm.
I feel that it's not necessary to buy expensive cubes, especially these days. As I run a cube store, I know that how well companies are making it for people to
Mm.
buy better cubes at cheaper rates. Like, uh,
Mm.
I believe when magnetic cubes started, the initial price were like, especially the GANs and stuff, over
Mm.
2K, 3K. This was
Yeah,
the
I
initial
think
pricing.
I had the first magnetic cube in Delhi, uh, which
Okay.
I got from Cubicle in 2016 because back then like no Indian store was selling it, so I had ordered one from Cubicle. Before magnetic cubes, there were like Lubix cubes. Not sure if you know. Lubix was a company in US who used to like lube the cubes and mod them and then give sell them. So before there was like a 48 point corner mod where you used to sand the corners, and even before that you used to lube it with Vaseline and everything.
Yeah,
So I've practiced a lot on like the Fun School Cube. I've seen a lot of development in hardware over the years, and I think it'll keep happening. So that's also good. And I think, yeah, you're also very lucky to have supportive parents because without supportive parents at a young age, a kid can't really do anything. And if
correct.
they don't take you to comms, if they don't like buy cubes for you, then it is very tough. So that thing needs to be there. Yes.
Yeah, so in 2021, I started coaching uh,
Hmm.
uh, from my own and found some students. So it gave me some income as well. And that time I was
Hmm.
in school, I had my boards. I used to
Hmm.
practice like 6, 7 hours, 8 hours in a day at a stretch.
Hmm.
And because that
Okay.
driven I was. Correct. So
Hmm.
that time you were at home, so it was going fun. 2022, when I started with the competitions, I realized that how well I can push it. And for a long time, like I have only earned from like I have whatever I have spent on cubing, I believe from
Hmm.
2022, everything I have done with all over what I have earned from cubing. So basically,
Okay.
it's what I have earned from cubing that only I have
Hmm.
spent to cubing again. And especially the biggest achievement for me personally, in terms of like a self happiness, was getting my first phone out of
Hmm.
my own money. I started
Okay.
coaching. I got my first phone after 2 months of my coaching when I started in
Hmm.
2021. Hmm.
Hmm.
That phone lasted really well. Like I changed my phone literally in August this year.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that was a very good memory, and I
Hmm.
still love that thing. And now also running a store, teaching people, like I have taught over 400 students in 12 different countries, so it gives me such a good vibe. And that,
Yes.
especially as you told, like people think that cubing is just a sport, you go solve cubes and come back, but it's more than that. The personal
Hmm.
benefits that I have got as a self development, and that is something
Hmm.
that I'm more thankful of. Even if I forget all the skills of cubing, and I am just left with whatever I have developed myself
Hmm.
as a whole, as a person, I will still be very happy. Because cubing, I don't know how far will I go, because you don't know about life further on. But the skills that
Yes.
I have developed, because I was a like an awkward kid. I was an extrovert, but an awkward kid who
Hmm.
doesn't know how
Hmm.
to properly communicate with people. But then talking to
Hmm.
so many people and the relations that I
Hmm.
have built, like we have also met in a competition in Bengal
Yeah. Yeah.
last year,
Yes. Yes.
2023.
Yes.
So it was
Yes.
all fun.
I want
Yeah.
to travel more to like Bengal comms, but the problem is the transportation network is not there because from Agra there is no flight to Bengal. There's flight to Mumbai, Bangalore, etc. And the
Oh,
train is also very, very long. So
yeah,
unfortunately, I haven't been able to travel. But yeah, Bengal com that was really fun, and I want to travel more to that side of the country.
correct. So as we are having a competition as well with
Hmm.
all the
Hmm.
17 events, so we can
Okay.
surely plan out.
Yes.
There are no direct flights from Agra to Kolkata.
Actually, so I live in Agra, which is a relatively small city. So it has a Air Force airport. And till around couple of years back, there were zero flights to anywhere. So it was basically a non-existent. But a couple of years back, flights started to like Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Lucknow. So like four places. So Mumbai is convenient, but for Kolkata, there is no flight. So if I want to go to Kolkata, I first have to go to Delhi, which is like I have to take a train or I have to drive for 3 hours, 4 hours.
Yeah,
Then I have to take a flight from Delhi to Kolkata and then do the whole thing in reverse. So that's why it's a little, time consuming.
correct.
Uh, it's a long endeavor because sometimes the flight from Kolkata. like the flight to Kolkata is in the evening, so you have to leave in the morning from my house, go to Delhi, then reach at late night in Kolkata. So it's a very long thing. I think people who have an airport nearby are very lucky,
Correct.
who live near a major airport. But I don't mind them because in Delhi there are some other problems also, like the pollution, traffic, everything. So I'm happy to live in a small city. Like there are no Cubas in my city that I know of. Like there might be a few like who do in school just casually, but there are no serious Cubas. And I have to drive at least 200, 300, 250 kilometers for every competition I go, except one which I organized in Agra. So, like, I've been to around 97 competitions and I've traveled at least 200 kilometers for every single comp. So, I've traveled a lot for cubing. I think I've been to Delhi like 50 times. And it's very good that you are improving the cubing scene in Bengal because that area used to be very low on cubers earlier. Now it's developing a lot.
Yeah. So the problem here is the city that I organize in is like the capital
Hmm.
city of Kolkata itself. So the problem is some of the like many of the Kolkata cubers don't want to travel
Hmm.
to the nearby city. It's just a
Howrah.
bridge of a difference. Yeah. So
Hmm.
that becomes a little sad that organizing because
Hmm.
organizing as you have also done, it's a
Hmm.
big task. In a
Hmm.
comp when you go, you even if you do five solves, that's fine. You are
Hmm.
only doing five solves. But for the organizers, it's a huge headache. Plus, it's a
Hmm.
3 day comp. 2 days in advance, you are already in the form of the
Hmm.
competition. Then
Hmm.
months of organizing, so it
Yeah.
becomes harder. So, towards the end, one question that I have from our
Hmm.
viewer is, what's your opinion on Chinese kids taking over speed cubing?
Hmm. I'm just happy that they haven't figured out BLD yet. So I think I'm safe for a few years. And the main thing is their hands are not big enough to reach all the MBLD cubes in the table. So like if you imagine Yang Wang doing MBLD, I don't think he can reach the further cubes. So he can't do more than 10 cubes, I don't think. But once they start one looking using CFOP, I think MBLD world record will go. But yeah, seriously speaking, I think it's good that they are improving so fast. As long as they are enjoying cubing, I think it's good that lot of like prodigal cubers are coming out of China. I think it's just because they are teaching cubing to maybe like lakhs of kids. You are getting that one or two with the insane talent that might have not even heard about cubing. Like you're finding that one in a million guy. And if you find enough of them, suddenly you have a lot of pro kids. So I think
Correct.
it's fine. I don't think it's anything bad. Like some people don't like Chinese kids taking over thing because you shouldn't think of them as just Chinese kids. Each one of them is their own person. They have their own story. They have worked hard. They are doing these insane things that I can't even like. I can do 50 cubes blindfolded. I can imagine doing that, but I can't imagine one looking a 3 by 3 solve up until
Correct.
OLL. Like that is something I can't wrap my head around, even though people say to me that doing these cubes MBLD is impossible. I think doing that is more impressive than what I do. So I think it's just about perspective. Like whatever you can do, you feel it's easy. And for the other person, the same thing might be hard. Like you do 6 by 6 in 1 minute 20 seconds. I can't do that, and I can't even imagine how I can improve those final 30 seconds. So I think that for every person, they have their strength. They have some innate talent in one specific thing, and they are also passionate about that thing. So they find it easier to improve. So if the kids are passionate about these events, it's good that they're improving, and I hope to see them branch into MBLD also, into BLD events also seriously because I'm interested to see if they can do something different with the events because since many years BLD events have kind of stagnated. Like in 4 BLD, 5 BLD, there's not too much competition except like two or three people at the top level. Other than that, everyone is far behind. So I'm interested to see if anything can be done with that. And as a whole, cubing is getting very competitive, so that's always a good thing.
Yeah, because see, I feel that as you mentioned that it's like again one in a million thing, but in
Hmm.
India it's like why are there so less good speed cubers? Because the entire community itself is very small. Correct.
Yes.
Whereas in China it's like a full factory. Like they, as you told, they are teaching lots of kids. And
Hmm.
because as a person outside China or outside the community, I am only seeing one or few kids who are
Hmm.
dominating. So we
Hmm.
think that like the perspective has been very wrong, as you said. I am also
Hmm.
happy that the world records are improving because it's either of those two things. Either you get
Hmm.
demotivated or you get motivated. So I take on
Hmm.
the positive side. I always
Yeah.
see any record being broken as a motivation to me to push myself further. But some people take it the wrong way, and if the kids are breaking the world records, they are not cheating. Correct. They have,
Hmm.
and especially Chinese kids have a full-fledged video that they can prove that yeah, there was no unfair advantage. So I am happy that the kids are doing it very well. So it's just
Hmm.
again about the perspective. So it's good. So do you think there is any certain limit a 3 by 3 solve can go on?
So I don't think there is a limit other than 0.06 seconds, because at that point you get a resolve. Because the thing is, people have always underestimated the limits of cubing. Like,
Correct.
I've been around like speed solving forums for 10 years. I've seen posts where someone said that this thing will happen maybe 100 years, and it happened 2 years later. So
Correct.
people have been consistently wrong about predictions. Like, people predicted that like in 10 years later, the world record might be 6 seconds for 3 by 3, and now it's like nearing 3 seconds. So they're always wrong. And I think that right now saying that now in 2024 our prediction will be right is also a overconfident thing, because I think you can never predict what the future will hold, what regulation might change, what timers might change, what hardware might change. I think that like you might say that like the minimum scramble is like 10 moves, and the fastest you can execute 10 moves is maybe sub 1 for 3 by 3. So you can say that the world record has a possibility to go sub 1. And I think in the far future, anything can happen. I'd personally say that by the end of this decade, we will have a sub 3 average in 3 by 3,
Yeah,
and a sub 1
that's
point,
a high
and a
probability.
sub 2 single, and a sub 2 single, yes.
Yeah, low
Like
twos I
it
have
might,
seen a lot
uh,
of, yeah. A lot of cubers have already
uh,
gotten low
yes,
twos
yes,
at
yes.
home. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
possible.
I think in the next 6 years, a sub 2 single and a sub 3 average is very likely.
Correct. So yeah, it was a lot refreshing for me. It's
Hmm.
around late night.
Hmm.
Not
Yeah.
too late, but yeah, it's around 10 p.m.
Hmm.
So still it's very refreshing because the way you describe everything, especially for the
Hmm.
audience also, I enjoyed a lot.
Hmm.
And I am pretty sure the
Thank you.
audience also loved to see you talk. And especially
Hmm.
like we had our first episode with Kunal Oak. Like
Hmm.
Kunal Bhai is literally a vibe. He and I
Hmm.
have touched with a very good relation. So we
He is
already had an
also,
episode with
yes.
yeah,
Yes, he is also very knowledgeable about cubing in general. I think he's one of the most eloquent and the most, hardware knowledge, like the community knowledge.
correct.
He's very knowledgeable.
Correct. So it was fun having a talk with him once again because he was our second guest in our first season and the first
Yeah.
guest in our third season. But
Hmm.
people have heard you very less. And especially,
Hmm.
I also got a chance to meet you only once, as far as I can remember.
Hmm.
So that was also fun. So thanks a lot for being a part of this interview. Pretty sure
Yeah,
that
you're
people
welcome.
have enjoyed it and would have
Hmm.
surely gotten a lot of knowledge about especially the BLD events, the
Hmm.
BLD world, and also some
Hmm.
about the astrophotography. So I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure people would get motivated in BLD, including me.
Yes.
I will also push myself to do more
Yes,
BLD
yes,
events.
definitely.
So it's again comes to that failure thing that BLD is the
Hmm.
event that doesn't guarantee you a success. So that's why
Hmm.
people just run away from failures. So for
Hmm.
sure the perspective will change. At least let's hope that in the upcoming 2 years we will have at least double the number of 5 BLD successes in
Yes.
India. So that would be good. And seeing India compete in BLD
Hmm.
events, the big BLD events,
Hmm.
especially in a world
Hmm.
level. Other than
Hmm.
you will surely be there. But
Hmm.
other than you, also a lot of new cubers would be competing. That would be very fun. So, how was your experience about this interview? If
Yeah,
you would
very
like to
nice.
share.
You had some very nice questions from you as well as the audience. and I got a chance to explain some things in detail that I normally, like, people ask me these things in comms and I just give them a short answer. But it's sometimes good to hear a long explanation because when I started cubing, the knowledge base was very small. Like there was the Facebook group Speed Cubing India, which was very popular, I think, throughout 2014 to 2018. Like you might not be knowing, but at that time there was like no WhatsApp and stuff, so there was only Facebook. So everyone used to go on Facebook, and daily there were like 50 posts on that group. Everyone's sharing their PBs and anything. So nowadays it has all migrated to like WhatsApp and Discord and stuff. But I think that time was very fun for me, that community of cubers, and I got to learn a lot. I got to improve a lot, and even now, if I can encourage some younger cubers to pick up BLD events or to pick up events that they think that they might not be good at, I'll be very happy because if a kid, I see a kid at a com doing 5 BLD, even if he gets a DNF, even if he's just attempting it, I'll be very happy to see that.
Correct. So, yeah, for the audience, it's up till here. Signing off, Hitesh and Shivam Bhaiya. So, yeah, hope you
Right.
guys enjoyed and wait for the next episode.